I'm so delighted to see Dr. Keith Wallace being the part of our inaugural kickoff session for this year. We had a wonderful year actually with the corona. Everything was so fast paced that we had so many programs going in different fields and assets. So we learned a lot from those experiences. And when I heard this topic, and actually it was kind of coincidence that the last program for the year was also this session, the Happy Seniors program. And we are also beginning with the same series, the Happy Seniors. So that's a kind of interesting coincidence. Dr. Keith Wallace is a kind of living legend. That's all I can say in one word. There's so many assets of his personality, the research, and as a mentor, I always look at his expertise into demystifying the consciousness, the mind-body medicine, Ayurveda, and then also looking at Ayurveda as a lifestyle medicine. So a lot of the way there is a difference between how Maharishi unfolded the Maharishi Ayurveda, which was the more of Ayurveda, which is based on science based and the validation according to daily routines and seasonal changes and how to adapt our mind and body where we live and how we eat and how we process and things like that. So that impacted me also individually on many levels. So we are very happy to hear from you, Dr. Keith Wallace. As we saw on the slides, he has so many accomplishments, couple of books. I would like to mention some books. I just finished his book, Rest and Repair. So that's a quite fascinating book about how we eat and make some changes into lifestyle. I haven't yet read. I'm looking forward to read the book Coherence Effect. And another book which I was very happy to see and impressed by Dr. Wallace was the Dharma Parenting. And Dharma Parenting is a unique book which actually teaches us how to do the parenting from the perspective of Ayurveda and then also the neuroscience as a background. And it has very interesting things, how to address things per different age groups and how you can address the same problem like anger at different age groups for children and things like that. So here you go, Dr. Wallace, and
Thank you.
hope to look forward to see you more in the coming year.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm very honored. I respect the program you have very much. I think it's remarkable what you put together. Um, since I was 19 years old, I was completely enthusiastic about Vedic knowledge. I really, really appreciate the great blessings from India, amazing knowledge that you brought to the world. I was very fortunate at a very young age to meet Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And from him, I learned so much about India. I traveled all around India from Rishikesh to Kanyakumari. So many beautiful places in India, such beautiful people. The temples, so amazing. Trupadi, Rameshwaram, so many wonderful experiences I had there. And many times speaking in Indian colleges and universities. I once gave a lecture in Delhi. Dr. Anand arranged it at the one of the big institutes there, speaking to thousands of physiologists on the neurophysiology of enlightenment. It was such a pleasure and such a joy to be able to bring out the great wisdom of India. So I'm going to go through some slides a little quickly because time is short. I apologize for that, but you can ask any questions you want. And I'll talk a little bit about aging, a topic that I'm very interested in and have done quite a bit of research on. So, Science and Art of Graceful Aging. I love the title of this program. It's so beautiful. So, what is the first thing about aging? What do we know about aging? Well, good genes are important. If your father lived to 97, that's a good chance that you will do well because our genes are like a suitcase of karma we bring into this world. And that determines There's some people who can have terrible habits at the age of 95, and other people who don't last at all unless they live a very, very good life. So genes are very critical. But then how do we survive the stress of life? Because everything we do in this world is affecting aging. The foods we eat, the pesticides, the toxins in the air, everything is stressing us. The amount of work we have, all these different things. And really, it's a question of how can we survive? And a lot of it comes down to this one slide here, epigenetic mechanisms. I don't expect you to learn this, it's way too detailed, but it just refers to the fact that it's not just the genes, but it's the environment, particularly the early influences when you were young. I love writing the book on Dharma parenting because I think parenting is so critical. What happens to a child at a young age, that's where these pathways are laid down. That's where certain genes are expressed. The molecular basis of our life is formed at that time. We all have a certain set of genes, but they can be expressed, turned on or off at any given time. And they're very complex mechanisms I won't go into. It's all about choice. Everything in life is about choice. And the Bhagavad Gita is the greatest, most beautiful piece of literature in the world, greatest piece of wisdom that talks about choice. You can be against Dharma or you can be with Dharma. You can make choices that are in the right direction, or you can make choices in the wrong direction. Krishna, the greatest teacher of any time, taught Arjuna how to transcend in the middle of a battlefield. And once Arjuna transcended, once he had that one experience, Nistre Gunyo Bhav Arjuna, once he had that experience, his mind was settled into the universe. He could make correct decisions, correct choices. He could fulfill his dharma. Yogastha kuru karmani. Established in yoga, perform action. Such a beautiful and simple formula for life. And what we know now is that every experience we have influences our brain. Every experience changes the brain. Maybe some molecule in a receptor, or maybe a whole neural pathway. And it happens all through our lives, not just when we're young, that's when the big pathways get formed, but every stage of our life, our brain can change. And I really love this topic, neuroadaptability. It says everything about how we live our lives. Aging gracefully is all about neuroadaptability. It's a special case of neuroplasticity. It's how we respond to stress. Do we get overexcited, or do we respond appropriately and then recover quickly? Now, many things happen if we make the bad choices. If we choose a path of bad habits, addiction, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, it's very, very well documented that our neuroadaptability becomes very poor, very inefficient. And it happens on a molecular level. So it can happen with just stress itself. Every day exposed to stress over and over again. And what happens is we don't turn off the stress response. Cortisol levels stay high, even in our resting state. And high cortisol levels can destroy cells in our hippocampus, an area which regulates emotions as well as memory. If we go so far as getting into drug addictions, we can see a healthy brain on the left and a diseased brain with cocaine addiction on the right. Real changes that even brain imaging can point out. But the changes take place everywhere. They take place in the DNA, They take place in very specific areas of the brain. So one area will over respond, one area will under respond. And the brain is connected to everything else in the body. If you have high cortisol levels, your immune system will be dampened. If you have high cortisol levels again, it'll affect your gut lining. You'll get what's called a leaky gut, which nobody understood for many years. Now, thanks to the work on celiac patients, we understand exactly what happens. One particular type of food can cause a chemical zonulin to unravel the binding between cells, and the gut begins to leak. And the immune system, 80% of us in the gut, overreacts. And so we get all kinds of problems in the physiology. And what's most interesting is the gut bacteria, the microbiome. Turns out to be incredibly important for our health. And I think this is something Ayurveda recognized many, many thousands of years ago. Today, we have a gut crisis because of stress. One of the many things that disrupt our aging process is this inability to digest food appropriately. We have what's called in Ayurveda ama, undigested food. Our agni, our digestive power, is not strong enough. And this ama, which from the point of view of modern science is like a leaky gut, undigested food getting into the blood system, the immune system goes crazy, and we have all kinds of gut problems. But more than that, we have problems on every level of the physiology. So good neuroadaptability, which means good graceful aging, means a healthy diet, herbal supplements, exercise, yoga, meditation, sleep, social interaction. These are all things that are mentioned in Charaka, Shushrut, all the classical texts of Ayurveda. I was very much influenced in my life by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I met him when I was 19 years old and literally spent my entire life with him, traveling around the world, meeting world leaders, lecturing at top universities, and meeting with Nobel Prize winners. It was a great inspiration to learn about Vedic knowledge. I think the Vedas are the single greatest source of wisdom for this world, and that knowledge has to be understood in terms of modern science. That was Maharishi's genius, to take this ancient wisdom and bring it out in modern terminology, the neurophysiology of enlightenment. Nobody had ever spoken about that before, completely new to the world. That was Maharishi's genius, to be able to speak in the language of the time, but to preserve the purity of this incredible tradition. And my early research was on transcendental meditation, which I consider a super habit, something that helps you in every aspect of your life, changing all kinds of other habits. Such a simple technique, practice 20 minutes twice a day. And I don't want to go into all the research. I know you've heard studies. It's an hour, 2 hours to cover all the research. No chance of that. Just telling you that there are studies like this, a study I did on younger biological age. So you can be older, but you can look at the biology and you can actually be younger. So long-term meditators had a biological age 12 years younger than controls. Just one of many studies. Here's a very good study done by the NIH. Supported by grants from the NIH. I think this was done in Wisconsin, showing a decrease in mortality. There was a big study showing that with patients that had heart attacks, they were randomly assigned to a TM group or health control group, and they had 48% fewer heart attacks, strokes, or deaths. Any drug like this would be $1 billion drug. So transcendental meditation is an amazing technique, an amazing tool for reversing the aging process. As I said, there are hundreds of studies. You look at any area, blood pressure goes up with aging, goes down with TM. Cardiovascular efficiency goes down with aging, increases with TM. You look at cholesterol, goes up with aging, decreases with TM. There's so many areas here: learning ability, memory, creativity, intelligence, cardiovascular disease, asthma, anything you can look at, and your Vedic knowledge will help people. Over $25 million of grant support from the US National Institutes of Health and other government agencies have supported all these different studies on transcendental meditation, particularly in cardiovascular disease. Now, transcendental meditation is really a part of the Vedic tradition and what Maharishi called Maharishi Ayurveda. He felt that Ayurveda had lost consciousness. People were not emphasizing consciousness as a tool in Ayurveda. So he brought out his own brand of Ayurveda where consciousness was emphasized with many, many different techniques, 40 different techniques, everything from Jyotish to Pachyaved, gem light therapy, all the different areas: diet, digestion, exercise, sleep, herb and spices, panchakarma, all the purification treatments, just a huge amount of knowledge he revived with some of the greatest living Vaidya's at that time. And this knowledge has been now researched very well. There's many, many papers on an area called Ayurgenomics. And Ayurgenomics, what it does is it validates this understanding of Ayurveda, that there are these different types: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And they take extreme Vatas, extreme Pittas, and extreme Kaphas, and they look at the genes that are expressed, and they find that each type has a different group of genes expressed, which are based on certain qualities. So there have been many papers on this. I just published a paper reviewing all these papers. It's huge. You have a very good start in the kind of scientific understanding of the basis of Ayurveda. All these things you already know about: diet and digestion, sleep and biorhythms, exercise and yoga, herbs, spices and rasayanas, panchakarma, other detox programs. They're all extremely important. Ayurveda has the most remarkable collection of healthy habits. Everything from stress management to diet to exercise, sleep. The trick is, how do you get people to learn these habits? You can tell them about them. Even in Western medicine, we tell people, oh, you should exercise more, you should have a better diet. Nobody does anything. You know, they advertise McDonald's, oh, eat this. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous, the food people are eating. It's ridiculous, the lives they are living. And really, the essence of Ayurveda is that all disease begins in the gut. If you don't have the strong Agni, you produce Ama, all kinds of problems come. And the microbiome is really confirming that. We have two tools that we've developed in something called Total Brain Coaching. That's one of the programs that we offer. One tool is called the Value Tool. The V, it's an acronym. So the V stands for Vision and Vulnerability. I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Dr. Brene Brown, but really beautiful work on vulnerability. So very important in habit change. A for awareness and adaptability, particularly neuroadaptability. L for listening and learning. U for understanding and unifying, and E for experimenting and evolving. And Dharmic also is an acronym we go through in Dharmic. Wonderful tools to help you change habits. I don't have the time to go into it now, but I would be more than happy at some point with my son, who very wonderfully has followed in this Dharma and is a coach And we'd be very happy to go into all these tools more deeply. And if people want some free sessions of coaching, we'd be happy to do that. But for now, I just want to mention to you some of the different programs. We have an online bachelor's and master's program in Maharishi Ayurveda and integrative medicine. This is at our university in Fairfield, Iowa, but all this is online. Maharishi International University. You can find it at miu.edu. And this was the latest book that was mentioned. These are some of the beautiful behavioral rasayanas, wonderful from the Vedic traditions. Speak the sweet truth, stay free of anger, be respectful to teachers and elders, gain Vedic knowledge, practice meditation, and stay balanced in sleep and wakefulness. Eat sattvic food such as milk, ghee, yogurt, lassi, dates, mango, walnuts, and almonds, and keep the company of the wise. And I know you are all keeping the company of the wise. That was my greatest joy in life, to be in the company of your great tradition. Thank you very much.